Facilitator with Triangle Associates. One of the hats I wear as Triangle Associates is facilitating the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council. So I know some of you from that, but I'm not wearing that hat today. I'm just an independent facilitator today. It would help me just to do a round of names, and just because this is being recorded for the public. Do you think we could start over here?
Yeah.
There we go.
John Moore.
Okay,
Oh, you brought your book out.
Oh,
very official.
Yeah. I'm Fred Chang. Are you going to be asking us what our expectations of the meeting are?
I could,
Okay.
yeah, I was gonna review the agenda, and then maybe we can see, if
Okay.
anyone has any other questions, please.
Heidi Fenton?
That's right.
Jay Rose Pepe. Eric Warden.
Mark Trenary, Scott Diener.
Rob Johnson, Mayor.
Wonderful. Well, just as kind of general framing remarks, I've been supporting your retreat for about 6 or 7 years now, and it's been just such an honor to see the decisions that you all are making in this room, or not decisions, the recommendations you all are making in this room come to life, including the construction project that we're sitting in right now. So these retreats have been really fruitful, and I've learned a lot. Up on the screen is the agenda for today, and then Councilmember Chang, you can certainly say if anything is misaligned with your expectations. The first piece is that Mayor Patansu is going to talk about the status of existing projects, so things that are in the works. Questions and answers throughout. My understanding is the mayor is okay with it being informal, so as people have questions, absolutely we can address those as we go. Take care of yourself. There's not an official break in this morning, so if you need to take a breather after that first hour, please do so. But then we're going to talk about the timing of the budget priorities. So the mayor is going to talk about a number of the topics that you all, or directors, I understand, have brought up over the last few weeks or months. And then I'm going to help you all as a facilitator organize those ideas into different buckets. So things that need to be addressed now, assuming there is funding available, things for your next budget cycle, which is 2025, 2026, and then a third bucket of out in the future. If something doesn't make it into one of those 3 buckets, I think it means it is not going to move forward for now. At that point, we will take a lunch break. If we're doing well on time, it can be an actual break. If we're running low on time, it might be a working lunch, but it will be provided. Thank you so much, wherever. Brandy, I think, was the one who organized it, but yeah, lunch will be coming to us. After that point, I'm going to provide everyone with a worksheet that talks about all of the 2025, 2026 priorities that you identified, and you all independently are going to rank. You can use a various kind of criteria that you have, you know, from your experience, principles, etc. And then I'm going to take each of your individual rankings, put it all together, and then we'll have a conversation about how the rank order, just how things fell. No decisions are being made today. So we'll review those results around 2:20, and then we'll wrap up and get everyone out of here by 3 o'clock. So that's what the agenda states. Did anyone else have any other priorities for today or thoughts?
This is the first meeting that the council members have had with each other that hasn't been in a formal meeting. And I just wanted to hear from the council members, like what their concerns were. I like the list of retreat topics, but when were we going to discuss them?
Well, I'll get to that. So we're looking at the agenda. So probably about an hour, we're going to be walking through the topics that you guys provided me and staff provided me, and it's a 3-page document that's 1, 2, 4-page, the 3-page document that we'll be walking through, and then
I'm sorry, when are we walking through that?
in about an hour.
Oh, during the timing of budget priorities?
Yep,
Yes.
that'll be
Okay, so
all
that's
those ideas.
about an hour from now. If we're on track, we should be walking through this list of topics that you guys provided and staffs made some recommendations to. When we're walking through this list, I'm probably going to be kind of looking at a kind of a straw poll, you know, as to, and we'll really end up in 3 buckets, and there's really a 4th too, which is there really isn't, you know, there isn't probably 4 or more of you want it, you know, if there aren't 4 or more of you that see this as a priority, then it's probably not a good use of your time to continue that dialogue related to it. So the 3 buckets are an immediate need, and those topics I'll be able to tell you whether or not, you know, something that's funded with an enterprise fund could be something, and there's gonna be a few topics on here that we could potentially, and they're related to reorganizations of staff positions. The second bucket would be prioritizing to drive our upcoming budget process. And, you know, I pride myself on engaging with you guys, as I develop the budget that you ultimately approve. If I don't engage with you at the beginning of this process, I'm not meeting your expectations. And so this is our first opportunity for a budget that you're gonna probably, hopefully approve in November. That we start on in earnest in June and July on the staff side of it, to gauge your guys's, you know, and determine what are your priorities so that we're feeding your priorities into this budget process. There are, you know, we're gonna be lucky to fund or implement half a dozen of these things. And just being honest, that's why at the end of going through all these and putting them in, okay, there's a third bucket, going back up, which would be, this is a great idea, but it's, you know, this is somewhat long range, you know, future planning, 3 to 5 to 7 years from now. And it's likely coming back at a future retreat, you know, yes, this is important, but it's not as high a priority as some of these, you know, immediate and short-term needs, okay? And then the last category is, yeah, you know, it's a good idea, but it doesn't lack the support of 4 more of you. So, Mark.
Well, I like what I'm seeing here, but as I reached out yesterday afternoon, I really wish we would have had this yesterday afternoon, so we would have had a chance to review it, kind of wrap our heads around it.
I didn't get your
Prior
message
to-
until about 8:30 last night. I wasn't feeling well yesterday, so,
Okay.
sorry.
Can I just piggyback on that?
Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to talk about, it doesn't have to be today, but is maybe next year's retreat and looking at maybe doing it a little differently in terms of solicitation of ideas.
Okay.
We all know the sticky doc exercise, right? Where everybody lists their, and we could all do that, and that might help inform on what the council would like to see.
I have been asking for 2 months for ideas.
No, and hopefully you got ideas from everybody, but
Well, I got 3 pages of them.
yeah.
One of
But in terms,
Go ahead.
but in terms of what comes out of that list for retreat discussion, I think it'd be nice if
Like
we
a
had,
pre-process to
yeah, if we
prioritize.
had a little weigh in for what that looks like. Because, you know, one of the things I wanted to talk about is not on the list, and it's important for me, and I think it's important for the community too.
Okay, and there's gonna be opportunity to,
I
when we
would
get to
like
the end of the
to
list.
suggest that we actually just go through these topics first, and then we scrunch everything else as the time is available. Because to me, this meeting is for council to talk about our concerns and in consensus. I mean, especially want to hear from the 3 new people that I haven't worked with so well. And I mean, the rest of it, we can do as needed during a work study if time runs out. But
Yeah.
I would like to propose that I'd like to hear from every council member, like what you're expecting from this meeting today.
Yeah, let me ask Mayor Patanzo, so the first hour here where you were just gonna talk about the now, the current status of things, do you feel like that conversation is important to inform
It is
Yeah.
important to inform, because
what's happening?
if we're not conscious of what initiatives we're currently doing and staff is working on, you don't understand the magnitude of adding.
Yeah.
What are we not gonna do if we're gonna add something in, you know? So I think and I will, this document that it's like not, there's all kinds of notes that go, this is a monthly project meeting that I have with my with the directors, with the city directors, okay? And to make sure that planning, finance, and Department of Community, excuse me, the DCD, the engineering group, and the finance department are all working, you know, together to make sure that finance knows what the funding need is. A lot of these are projects that Public Works is working on largely.
Right.
But they require permits, they require funding and timing of funding. And before I implemented this, many times we think Public Works thinks they're working on something, but there was a disconnect with finance, or there was a disconnect of, oh, we needed a permit for that. Well, yeah, of course you need a permit for that, you know, type thing. So I will keep this as high level as I can, but I just want you to understand all, because, and I have all of these presentations you guys have been getting over the last 3 months is so that you guys could hit the ground running and that I didn't need to spend half the day on this list. And so you guys have been getting a number of presentations just to give you guys a good foundation of information.
But to Councilmember Chen's point, that working lunch idea, we have an hour built out. I would recommend just to hear from everyone that if we do want to take a working lunch, to give you all as much time as possible to talk about your current concerns, and then also just to reflect what you said. I think we initially had that Mayor Patanzu was going to kind of read through the list of what he heard, but could I just invite the council to chime in with their own voices to talk about it in a little bit more detail? And
And what
elaborate?
I've done with the list too is the folks
their
that,
names.
they put their names to it. So I'm looking, this was your idea, okay?
Yeah.
And I want to hear from you. So why, for you to advocate why you think this is a priority for the city and the city council.
Brought
This
that
is,
back.
my first time
Mhm.
being involved in, a meeting like this. And, so I don't know how it was done in the past. Yeah, are we following how it's, doesn't mean it should be.
It's your meeting,
Right.
but,
It's gone almost different every year.
Okay.
well, early on, we, at least when I was a council member and my first 2 years as a mayor, we had the department directors here. And it ate up more than half of the day because they were pleading their case for all the things that they're wanting to see. And the city council told me, it's our retreat, it's not staff's retreat. And so we stepped away from that. So that's where I went to this list of, yeah, I get their feedback, I get the things that they want you guys to know about and hear about, and then I get, feedback from you guys. And there's nothing, this list doesn't have to be everything today, but we do need to be mindful of time. We should be wrapping up around 3 o'clock today. And there shouldn't be a problem getting through all this and other things you want to talk about.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe, I think you're gonna say something, Councilman Ward, and I think you as well. And so let's do 1, 2, 3. Is that okay? So go ahead.
So no, I was gonna say, Rob, you're right. It initially was a dog and pony show and it's morphed into a retreat, but this one's gonna be much different because we have 3 new members. We have, quite frankly, different agenda items than we've had before. A little bit more expansive on that. So we need to make those decisions. So it's recognizing what happened in the past, but not moving forward in the future. I would not even expect next year's retreat to be like this one. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for that.
No, it's exactly what I was curious about, is, are we following the same board or is it different, I hope it's different, right? I hope every meeting's, getting better, and, cutting the fat out of things, like having those presentations. I actually enjoyed having those during the council meetings and cutting that out of it, but hearing from others throughout this last week, like Mr. Trenary said, he asked to see these presented, a few days ago.
Yesterday.
Mayor West, no, I get, so just timing of things.
Sure.
There's a lot of questions. Everyone has their priorities and, I think they just want to be heard.
Sure. So one of the things I'll be doing is taking notes. I'll be sitting down and what I'm capturing is a few process improvements maybe for next year. One is advanced receipt of material. Another one is maybe doing some early prioritization to really hone in on topics and then maybe soliciting some other ideas. But Councilmember Fenton, please.
Oh, yes. I feel like the time is gonna go by really quick, so I would say, yeah, let's do a working lunch. So that way we're still working. And then I like this list because I'm,
The retreat topics.
yeah, and I like the way I can hear everybody, all my council members, talk. And
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to this,
Yeah. Anyone else before we, oh, yes, please.
Just that, in terms of advanced prep for this is what kind of the common theme is. I think we could take care of a lot of that with 1 or perhaps 2 work study sessions, just to prep for this.
yeah, I think so.
Really, that's what these presentations we've been getting, and
Yeah.
I know it wasn't necessarily for Fred or for yourself, who've been around a long time. you know, Mark and Jay, too, have been along, but just to give you that foundation, so we weren't working on the foundation here today, that, you know, because otherwise I'd be going through this list and you'd be
Sure.
asking me, well, why? You know, what, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and so not that I don't want those questions, but
Yeah.
it just gives you that, hopefully you've got a much better foundation than you had in January
Mhm.
and today, because we've been trying to give you a ton of information in presentations from all the different directors.
Great. Well, I am a process person and I love process, but you're also here to talk content. And so I'm wondering, we can move into the status of existing projects. You can do that at the high level. They've had the background. And then we can get to hearing from you all. I know a few of us are having either back issues in my case, or apparently have started exercising again. So if I'm standing and sitting, it's not to lord over anyone. It's just, yeah, so take care of yourselves. And let me switch the screen sharing here and then allow you to just
Yeah.
kind of share.
And I've just got a couple, and I know we're already 10 minutes behind, but I got a couple little housekeeping items. You know, because of the remodel, we've got our finance department working in the kitchen and the conference room back here. Unfortunately, the only way for them to get to the restroom is coming through and they're gonna come kind of around.
I don't care.
And also, as you heard in the council meeting, this is the copier room now.
Yeah.
So when anybody in the building needs to send a print job, you know, this thing's gonna fire up. So I apologize for the interruption, but in hindsight, we probably should have taken this meeting off-site. But then we wouldn't have been able to harness the technology we have. So anyway, Jay, you asked me about the state of the city, and if I have time at the end of the day, I'll run through that also. I haven't sent it out to you guys because every time I get it, it evolves and I tweak it, and I'm probably gonna give it 4 more times. So I will get you guys my slide deck when it's the finished product. And
I don't mean to interrupt, but perfect example today, I was at Kiwanis this morning. So they asked about the city and I said, funny, you should ask that. You're starting
yeah,
your show again. And
Yeah.
I said, you might want to ask the mayor to come
To
talk
speak.
about this, you know, talk about it. And at the same time, you know, I got the question, when's the city gonna fix the roundabout? And, you know, I go, it's a state roundabout. And, you know, that's still out there. So, yeah, that's why.
That's not in my state of the city, but yeah.
State of the city, so, yeah.
And if I haven't mentioned it, I thought I mentioned it in my mayor's report. Tentatively, March 1st
You did
is,
mention that.
yeah.
May.
Excuse me, May 1st. March already happened. So, all right, let's jump right in here. So this is a condensed version of our city projects, monthly city projects meeting. And, you know, the utility department is working on our water comprehensive plan. There's a number of steps related to this. So this is just something, this is an initiative taking staff time. I just want you to be aware of it. It should be, plan needs to go to the state by second quarter of this year. And it's something that we're working on. Sewer rates, remember, we've got sewer, water and stormwater, again, comprehensive plans for those. Last year we did stormwater and we're still tweaking that. Remember, it came back before you guys. Year before that, remember, we redid the water rate and its structure and went to the consumption model. Now we're starting the 6-year update for our sewer plan, and we've selected that consultant, and that work should commence. This list is a month old. I'm certain it probably has commenced.
When would you expect that to be before the council?
End of the year. It's a huge lift. I would think so.
Okay.
Sometime this year, you should be heading to the utility committee and then to the full council. We've also got a storm drainage comprehensive plan, and we'll be talking about potential projects for that. And we've been talking about the CFC implementation, and that's what some of those bullets are about. Storm drainage facilities, and I've got some bullets about that for you guys to prioritize later in the day. We've got a number of bullets about parks and facilities, you know, and all the initiatives we've got going there. The property that we purchased out at, it's in Sydney South for the regional stormwater pond, 640 Bay Street. Nick and I, it's just we tend to be crisis managers around here and, we have this gravel lot down here. We want to market it to a development and it's just capacity and our ability to do that. We'd like to have a sign on it, and be marketing that property for the project that we'd like to see down there. Community event center, some bullets around that, the Gibbons, pickleball court and the Old Clifton, multimodal pathway. They're all projects that are in some form of design or, permitting processes. The sewer comprehensive plan, I've already talked about, buildings and facilities. We're doing for our comprehensive plan, facilities element in the comp plan. And you can see some of the projects like, City Hall reskin. We've got a water tower at the South Shed that for years we've been trying to get, demolished. And every time we put it out to bid, we get bids of $600,000 to $700,000. If we wait long enough, maybe it'll just fall down, but that's not really what we want. But, and whoever takes it down gets to recycle the steel. So we don't think it should cost this much, but this is where the construction world is these days. And I still continue, I'm still negotiating on this building over here, and I'm hopeful that I believe it's next week, they're finally gonna get to the asbestos mitigation and removing that.
Should we just take a quick pause? I know that we wanted to do this quickly, but that was a lot of great information. Does anyone have any
Question
questions?
about any of those projects or initiatives?
The storm comp plan, was there any, I don't need to have an answer, but was there any conversation about, when we have downtown Cora and you're putting in all the greenscape, landscaping,
Mhm.
putting the storm park down there, the water quality park? I thought it'd be a great grant opportunity for.
Yeah, I don't believe there isn't, I know in this quadrant over here,
Right,
we don't have an opportunity to do that, but there is a basin study we want to do.
right.
That would, we need to do, so I'm gonna be later asked,
Not an opportunity because of timing or an opportunity.
timing and real estate, where would I put it? I don't have any property to put it on, down, in that little strip over here. I can see us doing something,
Yeah,
as down Sydney, possibly, whether it's a vault in the ground, in the street or in the parking lot over there. And as we get into there, we don't do well in grants if we don't have at least our concept well baked, which takes staff time. Okay, and there's two stormwater initiatives, and secondly, we haven't yet. We're close to implementing our stormwater capital charges, so we lack dollars for grant matches right now. Okay, and so there's two major stormwater initiatives that we need to be undertaking. One is the regional facility at the end of Sydney it's the first step in the Flower Meadows, area to us being able to do sidewalks and repair the streets out there because there's no stormwater infrastructure. And if we put sidewalks in, we just made dams because there's no place for the water to go. So I'm really gonna be asking you guys to prioritize between downtown and Sydney South, and we need to do both, but we have to be realistic. We don't have the capacity nor the resources to do both. And so someday we're gonna do them both. Which one do you guys want us to do first? And that's in the next part of our day.
I'm just gonna make a note to, like, schedule a meeting with you in the next couple of months,
Okay.
just talk about some opportunities and, I happen to know, some really good people, that I think could help guide the city a little bit in obtaining those and,
Councilmember Warden, is there anything that you would like to just put back on the retreat topics? Like, it sounds like you have a real interest around kind
No,
of storm.
no.
You're okay? Okay.
no, yeah, no, my priorities are, they're.
Reflected, okay, I
They're
see.
marked.
Councilmember Fenton and then Councilmember Morrissey, go ahead. Ann.
Yeah, the mayor, said something about a gravel lot down there that you want to sell to a developer. Where?
No. It's
640 Main Street.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one, okay.
the down here on the corner of Frederick.
Yeah.
We own that site.
Uh-huh,
And our master plan calls for from Kitsap Bank to our property
Mhm.
is, we would like to see a parking structure and the two residential towers. And we had a developer, online with it, they walked away. And to be honest, until we get the street done, the infrastructure done, it's probably not as marketable as it will be once the bank starts its development and a developer truly sees that this revitalization is happening. So, we want to market this property. Something Nick and I have on our to-do list. Until we get a little farther along with the street and the bank, giving us a certain date when they're breaking down or even having broke ground. We're probably wasted effort right now. Does that make sense?
I know that developer, while you're speaking of it, I read in the Kitsap Sun, you know,
Yeah.
about that possibility.
Yeah,
I was kind of looking forward to it.
yeah.
Hopefully someone picks it up in the future.
Councilman Morrissey?
I have a question. It's more just related to me being new. We're updating the account plan this year. What type of percent or resources does that take away from our daily activities, from my understanding, moving forward?
It's a heavy lift.
I gather
But
that,
it
right?
happens every 6 years and we have to do it.
I get that, right? But
Yeah.
like, where does that, like, do we lose 50% capacity? Do we lose?
Well, no, I'd be speaking out of turn if I tried, I would, something in the 25%.
Yeah, all I'm looking
If I
for
had to guess.
an understanding of
Yeah,
where.
it's a heavy lift. It truly is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just point out that I'm gonna be missing some meetings because of the county's comp plan.
Yeah.
And that is, and we have people that are working on that full time. That's all they do. And so I just would hazard a guess, 40% of staff time.
Maybe it's that high.
Okay, okay, I'm just trying to get an understanding of
The range.
what that will
And we
change in the
have,
future.
a couple people that are doing long range planning, and this is pretty much all they're doing right now, okay? And then we have a couple, one person that does development review. We might steal a little bit of her time, but not a lot, because we gotta keep, things moving,
I got a quick question. So before we move off, the comprehensive planning, there's a section here on parks, facilities and master planning, but on the agenda, there's a bullet for growth.
Mhm.
And I'm hoping growth will pick up the parks planning discussion.
Let's see where it takes us.
Okay, as well as the city administrator position. Okay,
I have a question about the 730 Prospect. As you may know, that's 2 buildings away from the Sydney Museum on Sydney and Prospect. And, I have mixed feelings about it. I understand that it is in the city's interest to have because it's a potential lots of parking and an office space. But on the other hand, when you think of downtown and if you want to make it more vibrant, I don't know that another municipal building in the downtown core will make downtown more. So for me, this pause has been I have mixed feelings about it.
And I hear you, but what I can say is, if I put those functions in the industrial park, we're fragmented right now, okay? Being in different office buildings, and it's really important for cohesiveness for us to be at least within walking distance to each other for collaboration. I mean, it would fragment our functions and make us, and we're likely not moving City Hall, and so, and the county's not moving it, county's not moving its campus. I mean, they're expanding their campus, and if this is an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up if we can obtain it.
Councilmember Chang and then Councilmember Rosenbeck.
It's just the original master plan for City Hall is for it to double itself. And I know that's cost prohibitive, but I think about that master plan, and if we concentrated more of the services here, it would make sense that we wouldn't have to spread out to the planning department and that other building.
We just don't have the footprint at all.
Room isn't here.
There's no room. And we're gonna talk
plan
about
was
how we
over
can
the parking
maximize
lot.
this building.
Really doubling the existing building on the
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And that was the original master plan, which we probably abandoned.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
I can touch on that, because when we undertook this project in the very beginning, we looked at, because this building was designed, add another
Wing.
second wing onto it. Our challenge is our code would require us not to just comply with our parking standards with the new wing, but the entire building. So and structured parking is $50,000 plus a stall. It made it just unfeasible for us to add on to this. So we decided, you were part of that decision process when we made it, was to live with the existing footprint that we have. And when we build a new building, we're gonna have to meet our parking standards, just like we make everybody else do.
What I'm hearing from you a little bit is just an interest in that revitalization concept and one thing there. So I think that'll come up a little bit with your priorities. Councilmember Rosa Pepe, please.
Just one thing with that, and that is when we serve our customers, being the citizens, if we put a building someplace else where they have to go, here right now, the way I look at it, and I'm assuming that at some point in time, the police department may move, you would have all of our administrative in one street. So if people needed to visit different offices because they forgot something or had to do something, they'll walk on one street, they're not getting in their car, there's no transportation issues, we're centralized. That's my interest in that building, if it comes in at the right price.
Vehicle miles traveled reduction, I mean, I realize
Additional
virtual,
parking.
yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions on this first set of existing projects in the work?
Okay, I'm gonna try to, these next three, I think you're aware of all three wells that we have, and the water rights for all of those wells are tied up in Foster. And, you know, well 11 is the sole exception to that. It has additional pumping capacity that it can provide, but we don't. So we are bringing that well online with a variable speed pump. And so we're gonna be able, we'll draw the water that we have water rights for. When we finally obtain the water rights, it's flipping a switch and we get the additional capacity out of it. But all of these well projects, 11, 12, and 13 are all tied up in water rights.
And I'll just add that I meet with the tribes bi-weekly, and water rights is becoming increasingly important to them. And we can expect to hear a lot more from the tribes about their concerns about overall water for the region.
There's someday in our future, there'll be an intertie. You know, we have two water systems, the utility committee, we touched on that earlier in the week. We have the McCormick system and the city system, and someday we'll have a pipe either going down Old Clifton or going up Glenwood Road that are the two opportunities to tie it in. And be nice if some development on either one of those corridors would build some of that infrastructure for us so that we aren't building a pipe that's very expensive. There's another reservoir being built out in McCormick Woods to facilitate all the growth that happening. And this water main replacement, that's just tracking when we're gonna do this, the street down here, it's getting underground power, sewer, water, storm water, street trees, new sidewalks, and this is just the project related to the new water line that needs to go in the street. We're rebuilding the Melcher pump station, just aging infrastructure, and of course, I think where everybody's versed on the Marina pump station project. We're still, you know, the developer, see here. This pump station one issue is related to this some performance issue on water intrusion we're getting with the contractor, and we're working through that. Ruby Creek Substation, that's the facility that Kent Trends it's designing on our behalf. We're paying for it and they're reimbursing us. And really the bottom line is when they build that park and ride lot, they have some commercial pads. And their commercial pads really have no value if they don't have sewer and water service out there. So they'll likely also build that the sewer lift station for us. Well, the board hasn't made that decision yet. I'm pretty confident that they will. And then they will put a latecomers agreement on that, and future development that happens around them will then in turn reimburse Kitsap Transit for the construction of that project as they tie into it.
Capital Warden.
And that, when I have been told, I know that still has to, each stage of that rehabilitation comes before council.
The agreement and the contract for the design came before council. And then likely, yeah, that would come back to council when the construction, but maybe not, because they're going, if, I know it'll come before the transit board, they're going to build it. And a developer building, unless they're seeking credits from us, then it would come before you. But if somebody wants to build infrastructure for us, it wouldn't necessarily
I
come.
keep saying for us. I disagree strongly with that.
Okay, they're building it for the city.
Build that so they can develop a transit center.
Well, they don't really need it for the transit center.
They
They
don't
need,
need to either. Have lift stations that are pulling
yeah,
the water, and the ones upstream, we still have to upgrade that one as well, because it's undersized, so they're powering, not working accordingly.
Hmm.
there are some upgrades. The development across the street, which is Bob Disney's project, and also the, I don't know what by the fire station up there, Doug Strobat and his group has a large parcel up there. So one of those three parties, whether transit, those projects are too large to go into the existing infrastructure. So a lift station is in our comprehensive plan and needs to be built for future growth to happen in that area.
Just for the notes, I would just want to make sure, can you,
Not a requirement for the county to develop land. It's not a requirement for the county to build infrastructure. It is for future development. That is for developers to do. What we've already passed, we're moving forward.
Mhm.
What I'm explaining is, we're not in land development.
I agree with that statement.
Mhm.
But we do have a comprehensive plan, and we have elements in our comprehensive plan. Because we have mandates from the state, because we're a city, to accept population and growth. And so,
Right, and the
so these,
requirements for growth. is
correct,
For them to build the proper infrastructure, if they're on sewer, to build lift stations. That's the requirement. That's not the public or sewer rates to build lift stations
Yeah.
for growth. That is for developers to build lift stations for growth. Our responsibility as sewer ratepayers is to do base rate, is to do retros, to do upgrades, things like that. It is not our responsibility to build infrastructure.
okay. I agree with your statement, but you remember there's two sides to the sewer utility, and a water utility and a stormwater utility. Operations and capital, okay? The ratepayers were responsible for the operations. And then replacement of existing infrastructure, okay? Our capital facilities charges and development, which, because they're responsible for their portion. When somebody builds a regional facility, it is not uncommon for us to enter into a development agreement for them, and they get credit for the portion they were responsible for. It's complicated.
I understand. I understand.
And so the ratepayers are not contributing to growth.
Yeah.
By using our staff time, our resources, our money, they pay us back, we are using staff resources.
Okay.
I'm curious, Councilmember Warden, whether, I mean, what I'm hearing from you is kind of just your,
When we're moving forward, I don't want to spend an hour on this topic.
Yeah.
I think like the bar is just being used.
yeah,
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
noted, and I'm just, when you have a conversation about priorities moving forward, perhaps some of that kind of philosophy or that position can come out in terms of where the city should put energy. So while we're just taking this pause in this, we went through a whole other page very
Yeah.
quickly. Was there anything else that you all wanted to touch on? I see Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Anybody else?
My only thing is just put a little, bug in the ear, that with West Sound Utilities, we haven't seen their list of projects for next year and the impact they may have on us for rates down the road. That's all.
Well, they have a comp plan obligation as well.
Yeah, and their rates aren't part of us in our budget. I mean, I know you're on this, where
Right.
that's discussed is at SAC, you know.
Right, and that ends up though, it
Yeah.
does have some impact with us.
Yeah.
They need to be planning for, you're correct for
Exactly,
their.
so that's
project.
this is just
Yeah.
a small bug, that's all.
I mean, I'm capturing action items. Do you want to list that as one or
No.
Okay,
that's-
just a
that's-
bug.
It's just a bug.
just a bug? Great. Anybody else before we let the mayor continue?
Okay, so knocked out sewer. We've got some minor security improvements that we're trying to get done. So these key cards that you guys use, they're much better than keys. You don't have to track them. You can kill them electronically and eventually we want to get the building next door on the same system. And you know, it's not on fire, so it doesn't seem to be a priority at sometimes. But we continue to track that project.
Robert, he's still better than a phone app that lets us in.
We've. It's a bigger project. It's different, and it's different technology than what
In
we
a
have.
previous world, unless you're gonna provide said device to each person, what if I don't have one? I choose not to have a cell phone.
Or I upgrade
Yeah.
my.
I asked about that because I didn't really want to have a card either. But good question. Transportation projects, there's a lot of them. We've got, the Pottery Avenue project, that's that road guy in front of the middle school. You know, these are in tech called TIP, internally our transportation improvement project numbers. So I'll try to give you, we got, this is Bethel Phase 1 is the next one. We've got, Bethel, Phase 5, which is the 2 roundabouts that one of them we're going to construction on. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the Anderson Hill roundabout and whether you guys want to prioritize that in the next budget. The Bay Street West situational study has been largely completed, and that's the concepts for taking the pathway from the ferry terminal up the boulevard and connecting to Tremont. We've got a non-motorized trail along Old Clifton that we want to complete. We've been that's under design. We've got the Bay Street Pathway. We've been talking at length about that. You shouldn't have too many questions in this venue about that. And then there was I'll get into this. There was a conversation with the developer about trading projects, and the staff and I believe that's not something that we should pursue. They would build our Anderson Hill roundabout, and we would in turn build the project that they're responsible for as a roundabout in the future for McCormick Woods Drive, which isn't needed today. But then we got I think it was what's the new subdivision
Trails?
No, in Bremerton, that's at the end,
Sinclair.
so we got that chunk of mitigation dollars, and that bridged a huge portion of the gap for us. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. We're only a couple $100,000 short of having all the funding we need to build the Anderson Hill roundabout. So
And it's way cheaper. Well, we have to manage, but we don't have any move those utilities.
correct. Yeah, correct.
And McCormick Woods, so we have to pay for utility.
If a private developer builds a project,
No, but
They have to
there's
do
one there that
utility.
we have to, when not at Anderson, so just so I understand.
Performing above it, they have to pay to move all these.
yeah, it's about $1 million. And if we build it, PSC, because of our franchise agreement, they have to move it for us. So that was part of why it didn't work.
Just understand.
Yeah,
So will that make the project happen faster at Anderson?
we'll get to that.
All right, I'll wait. Patient.
Be patient, thank you. Jumping, we've got the Sydney Road sidewalk, which is the other project by the grade school. We got Tremont phases 2 and 3. Phase 2 and 3 are the traffic lights at the boulevard and at Sydney Road. And so we've got a study that's 100% grant funded for there. I'll be shocked if we don't end up with 2 more roundabouts on those on that corridor from that design. We've got I just keep this on here, you know, the street trees that we did on Sydney, and they've got most of them done. There's some more to be done by the Sydney Art Gallery. We took some trees down by the high school, and there's some trees that are lifting the sidewalk on Kitsap Street before you get to Rockwell. So I just keep this on here so that Public Works doesn't forget about those, because there's a window of time when we can plant trees and not have to water them every day of the week. And that window's closing here pretty quick. And then also, you know, we put those new street trees on the hill there a year ago, and then because of site distances, we didn't put trees in certain locations. Well, we got tree grates, and they need to be taken out and the sidewalk filled back in, because they're trip hazards. 60 right, oh, that's they're across from Bravo Terrace, for multi-care that we, and we'll talk more about that later, and it has to do with the right-of-way agent. We got a contract right now to procure, to obtain that. The right-of-way agent wants $30,000 to do this one parcel, so I think we're close, if not ready, to have our own right-of-way agent on staff, because the money we're spending on all these acquisitions now, some of the existing projects we would leave with those consultant people, and we'll talk more about that later. Miscellaneous project, we're starting on asset management and smart meters. I was told, the last couple of days with Jackie, 50% of the meters have been in McCormick Woods have been swapped out to radio reads.
Yes.
In the next couple of months, we'll have 100% of them done.
Yeah.
And right now, they'll be able, instead of having to walk up and touch that wand at every driveway, they're driving down the street and it picks it up. And then the phase this fall is receiving towers in a couple locations in the city. And that data will come directly to City Hall and I can repurpose those staff members. They get sometimes and about 1.5 people, that's what they do, is read meters. And there's a lot better things I could do with their time. And so this will be the low hanging fruit. And then we've got about 25-30% of the older part of the city that has modern water meters. If you've got the little disc that they touch, I know I have it at my house, then we're replacing that transmitter. But we've got 800 meters out there that need to be, it's a plumbing project. And they'll be lucky to get 2 of them done a day, with the crew of guys out there. So we're tackling the whole low hanging fruit. But this project still has at least probably another 1.5 years in it, because we've got, it's a heavy lift on the last 800 meters that have to be completely replaced, and replumbed.
How soon,
Yeah.
how soon until we move on to purchase the remainder of those units?
I know that in the next couple of months, the radio reads, they're ordered and they're knocking those as fast as we can get the element, because they're really easy and they're getting really efficient at it. And then this fall, like I said, we'll have, but then I just don't have a good answer. On the piece, it's gonna be such a heavy lift. It's likely next year. And we might start on it late this year.
Have we received the complete order from the last approval that the council gave? I think it was like 2,500 or 2,200.
Yeah,
meters.
we've installed probably half of those.
We received that complete order.
I believe so. Yeah, we received much of it anyway. And they're being installed. Like I said, we've got half of McCormick Woods down there.
So I got a quick question. So one of the things I learned about in the transportation committee a long time ago is that there are federal pocket grants for one grant set is for intersection improvements and ADA. And so I think that's been on our radar, ADA upgrades, but also bike lanes is another pocket grant opportunity. Street lighting is another. Are we regularly pursuing those?
We pursue all kinds of grants. I mean, that's in my state of the city, this last year, what we've obtained is a huge.
I'm not hearing about the spot improvements that
Yeah,
these grants.
we have to
provide
be
for.
careful. Remember, one, the federal in particular.
It's got a lot of strings.
Strength attached
Yeah.
to them. And 2, it's capacity.
Right.
To manage those grants and add more projects. I mean, you can see how many things we're actively working on and all the construction we've got going on. We do pursue grants, but we're very targeted about things that are in our comprehensive planning process, and getting those, to be honest. I'm asking for $1 million in this next budget again for street paving. I think it's starting to make a difference, and I believe every other year, we need to be tackling paving and not just patching, paving a street. You know, and 2 years ago, we did Lippert, and last year we did Old Clifton. We couldn't have done that without grants. We got grants to fund, you know, the side, you know, on Lippert, the sidewalks and the sidewalk ramps and the things that you're talking about. So yes, we do. We're just targeted at in our approach. to it.
Right. So where are we with ADA upgrades? I know that, remember the DOJ memo that said all jurisdictions got.
We're tracking what we're doing. We do some of those every year. Largely, a lot of it is coming when we rebuild a street or develop a street. But
Yeah.
the older part of our town, you know, we did some 2 years ago. You know, and we're picking them off as we can. We'll do a whole bunch of it right down here on Bay Street when we rebuild this street down here.
Yeah,
The Councilmember Dinner, do we want to just list ADA as just something to think about?
Well,
Priority. in the
maybe
future?
something for the transportation committee to
Okay.
take a look at, discuss more.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Councilmember Trenary.
I don't, last year, I think we approved, through the transportation committee, we approved some additional lighting up in the Flower Meadows area or something on that road. I think that's one of those topics that you're talking about, what happened to it.
And we struggled to get PSC because PSC's got to do the work.
Mhm.
And they've just got such a tremendous backlog. But yes, we've got 2 different lighting improvement, LED lighting improvement grants. And they're getting worked and, but it's not, the choke point isn't us, it's Puget Sound.
Yeah, so those grants were received and
They're
we're
to
just
us.
waiting on the list.
Yeah, we have those grants. We're under contract with PSC to do the work. It's just getting them to do the work.
Yeah. Great. Councilmember Morrissey.
Need to work with the HOA for the ROA purchase.
That
ROA
right of way,
is right of way.
right of way.
It should be W.
Okay.
Remember, this is a staff document.
Okay, just making sure. I was like,
Sorry about
that's
the
what I
acronym.
thought, but I was like, I don't know what ROA
And
is.
that's
ROW.
Is that the Anderson Hill roundabout?
McCormick Woods Drive.
Yeah,
For the public watching this, I will make, they're not.
Rob, I can't remember the word and I apologize. And I'm trying to figure out what the city responsibility is because it's whether it goes on the list somewhere down the line. And Mark's gonna tell me right now what the word is because I keep forgetting it. Marquis, do we have a responsibility for that? I mean, it's come up multiple times from a
Yes.
safety perspective, from an aesthetic perspective.
it's on the list later to talk about it.
Okay.
And it's structured, okay, the wooden poles that the street light on, you can stick a screwdriver in. They're rotten, and that's why we don't do the banner across anymore because or the garland, because
Right.
you can't hold it. The structure itself is bolted onto the buildings on one side, which is problematic. The other side of it, whenever somebody hits one of those, you know, it's the square posts that are really a spurring. That's a steel post inside there. So the steel posts are all fine. But somebody went through town and clipped 2 or 3 of those steel posts out, you know, in an accident. Yeah, it might come down because the light poles definitely aren't holding it up. But it's, our plan to this point has been driving development, drive it down. And the replacement of that, and our code requires anybody that, if people can take it down, as a matter of fact, the theater wants to take it down. But I said, we shouldn't be, I said, well, if, like Rings and Things did, remember they took a section of it down? But then they were responsible for shoring, you know, in making it so it was sound, because now they don't have it, and when they rebuilt their building, they put weather protection in that cantilever deck up above.
Mayor, it sounds like we're gonna talk about this in a little bit. I just want to make sure we have about 10 minutes for you to get through a lot of things. So are we all okay? I think the mayor left off at street lighting project
And
and
that's
then,
really it.
and then development agreements.
Is
Let's
there-
run through that and to make sure that, yeah.
That's just Nick, this is just a document. We have a number of development agreements out there that have been passed, and it's just so that finance and public works and everybody can track those as they get credits back on those development because they built infrastructure that was in our comprehensive plan.
Cool. So the sense I've gotten from you all is that you have nothing going on in your town, in your city, and that you're incredibly bored. Is that correct? No, you have a ton going on here, and Councilmember Warden, we have about 10 minutes just for this kind of discussion, so please.
The helpline, stormwater fee, and load construction agreement,
Do we have one?
it's on.
It's the last bullet.
Yeah, I think.
Do you know,
We don't have, one. So some of these two, many of these are ones that we have in place. And others are conversations we're having with development. And then that's that case there. Same way with Kitsap County, we're in negotiations because the county wants a development agreement is typically 20 years. And that courthouse is a phased project and they want to vest the entire project. And there's a method to do that.
So that was one of my questions. What are the frontage? Oh,
Can
sorry.
we do
Let's
Councilmember
finish.
Rosa? Are you done, Councilmember Warden? Okay, Councilmember Rosa Bebe and then Councilmember Diener, please, and then.
Yeah, just FYI for the council, the initial project with Kitsap Helpline, South Kitsap Helpline may be taking a radical change because of issues with building on the lot, parking, et cetera. The project has far exceeded their budget. And they are in process of talking with Steve Sago for the property
Down in Bethel.
down on Bethel, which would save them a ton of money, solve a whole bunch of the stormwater issue, and allow them to sell the property to somebody else. So right now, stand by for more information from Al.
That's exciting, Jay.
Yes,
Would
yes.
would that be a
So many reasons.
tear down and redevelopment?
No,
Rehabilitating.
Let's do Councilmember Diener, Councilmember Fenton, please.
I'm just curious about the frontage improvements that the DA would be for with the county.
I don't believe that's part of the DA.
Okay,
So, and we don't have, their design's not done.
Right.
We're, development agreement we're largely about utility improvements and the parking that they
Okay.
need to do, and then to allow them to vest for all of the different phases.
right. So years ago, we had the county come and give a presentation on that project. It'd be nice to have them come back all the years later and tell us.
There's nothing new to report. We continue to.
It's gotten some new life under it,
Yeah.
I can say, from the
Yeah.
fourth floor, but,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to know, how different is it? Well, some of these members have never seen that presentation either, so it'd be good to have them come and maybe not right away, but when it's.
One thing that, and I believe it is within the next month, you guys will finally see those street vacations. Because we've been adamant all along.
Yeah.
Phase one is the first courthouse.
For phase zero, they're.
Phase zero
Phase
is
zero.
parking. You're not
Yeah.
building another building until you solve your parking problems. So
Right.
so they bought many of the parcels to the south. And to build their parking, there's streets and alleyways that are in there that need to be vacated so that they can build their parking lot. And the appraisals are underway right now for us to value those, the county has to buy that right of way from us.
That's the parking structure, correct?
It's not a parking structure, it's surface park.
Surface parking,
There's
yeah.
a future phase with a parking structure out on Sydney and Division, I think, but that's not what this is.
Councilmember Fenton, please.
Yeah, for the, just back on miscellaneous, it's a public work charging station waiting for a transformer and trucks. We don't have to, I don't know if you know the dollar sign for that, but I would be very curious how much that, charging station costs. And also for the maintenance for, I'm assuming this is all for the
So
electric trucks.
we have 4 trucks, we've received them. We
I
have,
saw them sitting at the.
yeah,
title
and
shop.
we have
I saw that.
charging stations to charge them. We're waiting on PSC, all the infrastructure is built, but it requires a transformer. And we need PSC to install the transformer so we can use the charging station. We have 1 charging station existing that is for our small electric vehicle. So between downtown, the charging stations we have here and the one there, we're kind of rotating these trucks through that, but all of that has been purchased and there shouldn't be any maintenance costs associated with them because oh, they're electric trucks, the maintenance costs are far less than, mine.
Well, when it comes to a battery, they're,
I know you have
Astronomical.
opinions on this, Heidi, but. we've
no,
already
but I know, but I would just like to know later the whole cost of everything on that.
Okay,
Because that's
it's-
taxpayer dollars paying all this.
Yeah, and
And so that's,
Correct.
but that's for later, you can give that information.
It's a state mandate
Yeah.
that we
We're
electrify.
required.
I understand that too, but I'm still curious. How
We-
much?
we-
Noted that as an extra
Yeah.
item to come
Yeah.
up.
we need trucks, and we have a mandate from the state that we have to buy electric vehicles.
Councilmember Tranner.
So
I noted it, yeah.
just for clarification, this is the transformer at Public Works.
Yeah.
Up in the industrial park.
Yes,
The PSE is already punched all the way through there. So the main lifting up from their end is done.
so we're just waiting on the
Correct.
transformer.
We're waiting on the transformer.
Transformer to be installed, all the wires and vaults and everything are
Everything
there.
else is done.
Charging, our electrician did the project and installed the 4 charging stations, 4 or 5 charging stations. So there's a bank of them along the fence. The utility pole's there, the conduit's up the pole. We just need a transformer installed by
Wow.
So
PSC.
again, PSC.
So we can
we're in
use-
PSC.
so we
I
can
can
use
say, I'm hearing PSC
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
kind of holding
it's-
things up recently.
Yeah.
So in the
Seems
last
like
5
they're
minutes,
understaffed.
interesting, yeah.
Everybody is.
In the last 5 minutes you have for this topic, is there anything else you want to clarify? Keeping in mind the purpose of the mayor running through all this is that so that you have an understanding of where existing time, energy, and resources are going before you think about what the next budget cycle is. So any other comments or questions to set you all up?
Right, should we jump into the next part? So refreshing your memory here, we're kind of gonna, an immediate need, something we should be considering for our prioritization process, driving the budget, or, yeah, this is a great idea, and let's put that off, but we don't lack the resources for it right now, and it's a future topic.
Let me.
The only-
give a- I mean,
So the only document you need, and we're gonna put it on the screen, is one that says retreat topics. Everything else is supporting documents, and I'll call your attention to them as we get to the topics, okay?
And Mayor, I want to just note that we have 90 minutes for this conversation, and I heard Councilmember Chang in the beginning really wanted to hear from their fellow council members. And I think in the beginning you said this is your meeting, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to take a few at a time and talk about it and pause? Does that work, or just?
Sure. I think we're gonna talk them through one at a time. And just
Okay,
fo-
and then
follow
we'll,
through the list, and then there'll be time at the end, to discuss other topics that you guys, feel are relevant.
great, so there are 37 of these.
And I have one more hand, actually, there's a duplication,
Yes.
and then I have one that replaced it with staff.
There we go.
Mentioned yesterday.
Okay, so just that 3 minutes or so per topic. Of course, they won't all take the same amount of time, but yeah, excited to hear from everyone in the room. So do you want to get us going with the parliamentary training?
Sure. I know some of us have, I know I have, Fred has, Scott may have in his
Yep.
county world.
And here.
Ann McFarland, is, and she brings these little dinosaurs and we do some role playing with them. It's a great training. There's that version of it that's probably gonna take a couple of hours. And it's parliamentary procedures, and I've been, I facilitate your meeting and I use those, whether it's this board or other board. There's also a lighter version which is an online training, with it, that she puts out. I think we would all benefit from it. I pick something up from it every time. Is this something that you guys would like to spend the time to do?
I think it's important, even if it's a refresher, but is she the only game in town? 'Cause I
She
thought it
is,
was
she
kind of-
is, it's hokey, it is,
Yeah.
but she is the subject matter
All
expert.
right,
The Association of Washington Cities, actually has her training, and we would need to pay her to come and give an in-person training, but since we're a member of the Association of Washington Cities, they have an online version that we can borrow, and I think at a minimum, I think we should do that. I just wanted to gauge your thought. I don't want to bring a training in if you guys, I don't need that, and you're not open to it, so.
What
well-
training is this?
Parliamentary
Parliamentary
procedures,
procedures.
Robert's Rules of Order,
Yeah.
motions,
Oh,
seconds,
yeah, yeah.
amending a motion and
We
the,
did that for our orientation.
you
It was like
got,
hard to
you
live
got
with.
a teeny bite of it at your orientation. This would likely be, and, you know, 45 minutes to an hour's worth of training and diving much deeper into that, so.
Rules are
I
like a
I
book.
definitely could use some training on that and, a lot, but hopefully if she's watching this meeting, she'll understand that it is a little hokey. Spice it up a little bit.
Councilmember Trenner, I see your hand.
So are we talking a specific date for the online training or is that an option to?
I don't know where that, you know, I threw a lot of spaghetti. I don't know where May 21st came from. I would probably add it to one of your, if we did the online version, you know, I'd add it to a work study or, one of our light agendas and to the tail, like you've been getting the presentations. And, I think it'd probably be more conducive to a work study and we're all sitting around looking at this big screen right in front of us. So, so is there consensus then we want to do this?
Councilmember Diener.
Well, I think if we want to do it, I think we should do it in person. That gives.
Yes,
an
I
opportunity
would.
to
I'm
ask
saying part of
questions.
our meetings.
One of the things, as hokey as it is, one of the things I learned from her is that when we have meetings, it's not the public's meeting, it's a meeting in public. And I'd like to make sure we explore that a little bit more, because that's a hard pill for the public to swallow. They don't understand it and we can't explain it. So I think that would be a worthwhile outcome.
That's an element of her
Yeah.
training,
Yeah.
correct?
So I think I know the mayor wants just to get a sense from the room of whether this is something that you all want to then later bucket and prioritize. Should this stay on your list?
Is there, is an
Yes.
immediate need that we
Worthwhile,
do this
okay.
year? I'm seeing at
I think
least
so.
4 heads. So, and we'll do,
Can you May 21st, it's open.
I don't know where that date come from, but we will get it likely on a work study.
If it falls on worse, that'd be.
Yeah.
best for all of us.
Yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't schedule on a special night. So,
Yeah.
so online training.
So the online training is
It's
is
her-
interactive.
It's her, well, you're not interacting with her. It's recorded.
It's canned.
It's
Okay.
canned, it's a canned training. You're getting the same content. It's canned. So the concepts, you know, and all of that.
Yeah, so I understand that, but then you don't get an opportunity to ask her questions if you have them. That's,
Our parliamentarian is our city attorney. I would recommend that our city attorney attends that
Okay.
and is able to answer your
okay,
questions.
I'm okay with that.
And we would have the ability to stop it.
Yeah.
Yes,
discuss,
yes, and have, yeah,
and move forward.
absolutely.
Okay, yeah, I'm down with that.
Exactly.
All right,
And just for your awareness, what's happening on the screen, as you all are talking about this, I'm gonna drop them into these 3 buckets as we go. If for some reason I misunderstand you, please interrupt me, but I feel like this was a now.
yeah, and if you could just take that date off there, that May 20, or down. in-
Oh,
in
the
your-
date, okay.
Yeah, I don't know where that date came from, but we, online version maybe is a note
Okay.
after that.
Great, let's do that. All right, next up.
Okay, this was John Morrissey. He wanted us to have a conversation about an Arcs Commission. Does Bremerton have one? And
They do. Well,
So can-
it's even evolving as they have recently got a designation as a arts district.
Okay,
And so, the Greater Kitsap Chamber and things are involved. They also have a poet laureate program as well. So, I know it was brought up at some meeting about an art installation here as part of this renovation project. And we just noted that we didn't have dollars associated with that. And
Even.
was that an email? Okay, I don't remember where it came from, but.
We've also talked about an arts sales tax.
Yeah.
We've talked about
Yes, yeah,
the
typically-
transformer wraps, those, so
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to have those conversations and see where that can go. I don't know that it has to be a fee or a tax. I think you can engage artists to publicly display art here, and have them come in, and if we just create a space that says, "Psst, you get X, Y, Z, and you get from November 1st to the end of the year, and then you get," I just think there are options that we can engage and create some of that culture so that as we grow, we can grow into it, because keep calling it an arts district, and I don't believe that's a creative district. Sorry, is a designation by the state, that opens up all kinds of fun.
Huh.
And I think your wraps and things like that are different than what John.
Well, it's part of the overall thematic, I think.
I believe the Arts Commission oversaw those utility wraps and engaging.
They've got
with
some
the
nice
folks.
ones.
Yeah, over there.
So my only pause to this is going to take a staff person to do. We don't have the capacity. So that's the dollar and cents side of this.
And
And
I
staff
want to
members.
talk capacity at some point, but I hear that, so, if that's still something we'd like to do, I think we can have a conversation.
I would certainly like to explore,
Yeah.
maybe meet with Bremerton and see what
Find
their
out more.
staff capacity looks like. Maybe it's,
Yeah, I
Maybe-
see two
oh,
hands.
sorry.
I see Councilmember Trenery, I think you were first.
So I'm just curious, how deep a dive are you talking about here? I heard just allowing that people to come in and share their art in the city hall buildings. But then I'm also hearing an arts district, how,
I'm open to just discussion, right? I think it's important as we continue to grow and move forward to incorporate that in some capacity, and I think you gotta start somewhere, because, we don't start anything right now, so. That was my whole point. I think it creates a larger discussion because maybe we're not willing to throw money at it right now, or maybe we will. That's just a greater discussion.
I think it's pretty quick conversation with, I don't know, Burlington, City of Paulsville, maybe like cities. Pretty quick, how much do you invest in that with staffing, time, dollars? Then that's probably a pretty good starting point, but I do know to qualify for many grants, you have to check several boxes. Usually arts is one of them, so it'd be interesting to see. I think starting off talking to our neighbors would be helpful, and it's a free conversation.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe, Fenton, and then let's do Mayor. Does that work?
Seattle has a 1% on
Right.
all public projects that have to go to art. It's not a tax, it's part of the project cost. Just to keep moving things along, since we have 3 minutes for each topic.
Yeah.
This was one I think we can kick down the road a little bit, because we need more information, and probably during the budget
I
process.
think that's what I'm asking, is for us to get that
That's
information
what I'm
now.
trying to do. is
Yeah.
moving forward.
So I would offer to maybe relabel that future bucket, and it would be future and planning efforts. And
Can you send it to a committee to look into?
so that could be
well-
an outcome.
So Councilmember Fenton, please.
Yeah, and I do like the idea. I'm curious, do you get like an application if we do artwork that's down here? Because we probably don't want just any artwork, you know, it depends on what it looks like.
It
I
would
mean,
be
you know,
challenging to manage our.
so I'm just curious, yeah, how do we do?
And it could be something that we contract, you know, we don't even have a contract, but you just say, hey, Sydney Art Gallery, like, I'm sure there are people who would curate that for us, but again, it was, do we want to
No, I
take
think
those
it's
steps?
I'm hearing that there's interest in kind of exploring it now and perhaps.
And that's why I changed that label of that bucket.
Perfect.
and I would hope that we have discretionary authority, because I'll just say it, the Nike exhibit at the end of the pathway is just a
Horrible.
bunch of used
I know.
stormwater materials.
my
that they
concern also.
Spray painted silver and welded together.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Hopefully,
why.
hopefully nobody knows the artist in this room, but I'm not.
that was me.
And it's a wonderful piece of art.
Why, thank you. I do want to keep us moving. This is
Yeah,
a big
please.
one. So additional police officers. Mayor, can you speak? to
All right.
that?
And this is the, you know, myself and the chief advocating for this. And, you know, we're not policing our community the way we should be. I will share a little secret with you. If, don't speed in Port Orchard on Fridays. Because, okay, the way
Write that down.
our officers have a whole bunch of training requirements. Their schedule is created, so they all come together on Fridays for training, and if they finish up early, guess what? They go out and do some traffic enforcement.
Do you have a time for
It's just, it's as their schedule present for this time. So 2 weeks ago, they went out and to our 5 hotspots where we get the most accidents, they pulled over 90 people.
that? Jeez.
62 of those situations warranted a citation. There is, you know, they want to educate and not, you know, but we don't have the capacity. So Chief and I kicked this around calling it a PROAC unit. I want to get to a and we're moving the needle. Trust me. We've got 4 officers right now in training. When we get those on, we'll be at the highest staffing level we've ever been in our police department. But until we need to create, I would like to see us create this PROAC view, because right now, our police officers, if you're on day shift or swing shift, all day long, you're responding to largely property crime and accidents out there, okay? And there is no extra time. If I want to put the Marine patrol out here to address derelict boats, I've got to have 2 officers that are willing to volunteer for overtime to do that. And at times you do that.
It's a great program, by the way.
Chief and I want to see eventually 2 positions that unless there's something really catastrophic happening, they aren't responding to calls. They're out doing traffic enforcement. And as we learned just 2 weeks ago, and you guys see this behavior out there and the way people are driving, and the only way we're going to change it is writing tickets and changing behavior. We need to see the boat out in the water, and we need to see our officers out on their bicycles in our parks and and we don't have capacity yet. And the chief and I are both advocating virtually every budget during my tenure. We've tried to add 1 new officer every year. So this 1+1 is what we're referring to is a biennial budget. In 2025, we added FTE, and in 2024, because even if you said 10 officers would solve this problem,
Right.
I couldn't add 10 officers and train 10 officers right now. We got to do this incrementally, and I'm advocating that we continue to do this. So
Councilmember Rosa Pepe, yeah, I saw your hand.
No, that's fine. What I was gonna say was put it in 2026 budget, because until we're fully staffed under the current budget, I'm not interested in trying to add more positions where we can't even fill the positions we have, because then it just becomes a budget placeholder and takes away money from something else.
we will
So,
we will
25,
we will have all our
26.
positions filled by this fall. As a matter of fact, we're down to 2.
I understand,
They're gonna-
Mayor, I understand, but I've seen this
Yeah.
for all 6 years.
Yeah.
And it's, all it is doing is holding money from other projects.
Okay.
So for
Fair
the
enough.
purpose of this discussion, 25 and 26, this is where this should go, just
Yeah.
like you said.
Can I hear from others? Did others agree that it's 25, 26? Any concerns with that?
I like your, Jay said.
Yeah.
You have previous, experience in that.
And I agree, we wouldn't be adding that in 2025 if I couldn't. If we're not in a position where we're gonna be recruiting for that position, because you're right. We don't have capacity to recruit that position, why are we funding an FTE that we know we can't hire?
We've
Any
got
other
here-
thoughts on this one before we keep moving?
Just building in some redundancy once we get to where we want to be, so that we always have somebody on, an extra staffer, if you will, for those retirements or people who leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have the coverage, because there is also the downtown noise. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
we've heard a lot of complaints about
oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hearing their support for this one, for this upcoming budget cycle. Thank you. That's great. Mayor, are we okay to talk about street paving?
I'm ready. And so, when I was on the city council a few years back, and Fred, you can probably remember this too, we were lucky to get $200,000 to $400,000 in the budget for street paving. Street paving comes from our general fund. It's the same bucket of dollars we paid for, parks. It's where we pay for our police officers, and some of the administrative staff. And I just hope that you see what $1 million can do is moving the needle. And I think we need to continue invests in street preservation and maintenance, because if we don't, our streets, continue to deteriorate. So
Council members, Diener and Trenery, these were your recommendations. Anything you want to add before you consider where they belong?
Well, I would like to see this fund continually increase, because the value we're getting for the dollars of $1 million last year is not the same value we're going to get this year. And so I would like to see more money put into this so that we can continue to at least hold our own when it comes to potholes that are coming up and street repairs.
how about we tweak this to $1 million or more?
just adjusted.
Is that general fund or do you want the gas tax? The 1/10 of 1%?
The 1/10 of 1% can't go to street preservation meetings. It can only go to the capital
General fund, it
projects.
sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not eligible.
let's do Councilmember Diener and then Councilmember Ward.
Well, no, I just think it's important to do, like I always say, the worst kind of maintenance is deferred maintenance. So we don't want to go there and we want to maintain our B rating that we got years ago, with our streets,
Great.
at least.
Does the pothole repairing, is that
So
under 80?
how our work plan, so it's a biennial budget. And we do a contracted heavy lift in one of the 2 years, and that's what we did Old Clifton, and where the contractor comes in and does a heavy lift. This year, it's in the off year, it's our crews and not contracted, so go out and we have, we can handle patches, and small repairs is the kind of the capacity we have with the equipment that we own. And so we do street activity every year. It's just one of the 2 years, it's a contracted heavy lift. The other year, it's our crews going out and doing the Band-Aids, and patching and crack sealing.
So this is not the $1 million is not contract work, strictly.
It's a combination.
Are we including our own staffing?
Yes,
In that?
yes.
In that $1 million?
Yes,
And
You know
so,
what I'm saying?
because we have to charge their time to streets, storm,
Sure.
wherever they work. So there's a cost to those employees and have to allocate their dollars.
are you advocating that it's street paving and pothole repairs as kind of one initiative?
When I read it as we're repaving streets.
Okay,
Okay,
That's how I read it, but, that's not how it is. It's just-
Should be
actually, it's and preservation.
preservation.
okay,
yeah.
preservation, okay.
Paving and preservation work.
And then Councilmember Chang.
Does car tabs go to this or is that not capital only?
It's also capital.
So what other funds are there for?
It is the general fund and our portion of the state's gas tax,
Mm,
which isn't a lot of money, and it's a diminishing.
So we can't go out to the voters for anything for street maintenance.
I wouldn't recommend it,
But we can't.
because I think if we were gonna go to the voters for anything in the future related to streets, it would be when we get the design on Bethel Phase 1 done. And if the number is, oh my God, how, it's double what we thought, because remember, the council passed a 1/10 measure, we can
Yeah.
go to the voters and get another 10. But I think we've got to define a project.
So it's capital only.
It doesn't have to be, Fred. We could, but I think if we were gonna go to the voters, we gotta have a plan and we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. Hey, we want
We want
$50
money.
million to go, to go into the street fund. That isn't gonna sell very good.
Councilmember Chenery.
Just curious, question, is restriping included in this $1 million?
No, that's an annual project we do every year.
So I want to hear from everyone whether this feels like it's a 2025, 26 budget item. Is this something somehow you could,
If it's nothing, we're going to do street work.
okay,
We do not,
It's a now issue.
it's a now issue.
it's not a now issue.
It's a budget.
Well, so I mean, it's an ongoing.
It's an ongoing, yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna do, we did the heavy lift last year. We're gonna do the crack sealing, the patching with our crews this year. And I'm advocating that we need to make a similar, and I'm hearing
Budget.
a larger investment
Mhm.
in our streets, or in this next budget. Is
That's a
that,
good point. You have $1 million.
It's diminishing.
Not $1 million was 5 years.
Yeah,
Can you get a grant for, roads?
they're very competitive, and yes, and the last 2 street rebuilds, I think I touched on this earlier, Old Clifton and Lippert, we couldn't have gotten it done without a grant.
Mm.
So, yeah, we're constantly pursuing grants. It's just, they're very competitive.
Let's talk about the next one, which is one new parks personnel. Eric, Scott, and Mark recommended this, so Mayor, do you want to tee us off and then see if there's anything to add?
Totally support this idea. We're adding parks, I will say our parks look better than they ever have. Our long-term employee that we had for many, many years doing parks, retired. The new young man that is doing it has got energy, is putting a lot more care into it. But there's only, we're stretched pretty thin in this area, and this and the next relate to summer hires, and some of those summer hires go into our parks, because that's when the grass and the vegetation grows the most. But a couple of you spoke to this. I totally support this and seeing where it shakes out, but we need more people to keep our town looking beautiful in our parks.
Scott, Jay, Eric. That's all they have.
So, my thought when I added this as a retreat discussion item was that we need to start talking about a parks department. And I'm not expecting that would happen even next year, maybe even the year after, but planning for what that looks like, I think warrants a good discussion.
Should that go under planning? as
Well,
a
let me
topic?
speak. I
Yeah.
think that is separate from this item. That is a Parks and Recs levy, which is a tax member. We have a parks lead. That's what I don't need to label somebody a parks department. He's a public works employee, and that's his job to work in the parks, okay? And his tools and truck and everything are paid for from our general fund.
Sure.
Where somebody working in the sewer utility, they have dedicated funding sources, but yes, and part of the structure that we've been negotiating with the unions, that some of you have got a taste of, I don't know that everybody's seen it yet, we're trying to negotiate, when Jackie Brown retires, to restructure parks, all of Public Works and the organizational chart. And right now we have leads in, true leads, and they get they're designated that way in storm, sewer, and water. And in this restructure that we're negotiating with Public Works, we would add leads in parks and streets. So we've got a go-to person that's solely their job.
So I have a follow-up.
Okay, and then we'll do those two. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so do you see a point at which we trip over to having a parks department in the
It's
future?
I think it's when we have a Parks and Recs levy, and it's almost a separate, it's part of the city, but it's
Yeah.
a dedicated funding source.
We'll have the event center that will need to be managed. We'll have,
Yeah.
we have a lot of parks we're talking about.
Do we want to add the Parks and Rec levy as a topic to talk about today?
I
And
think we can,
Not
I think-
necessarily today, but I think it warrants a dedicated work study.
I think it warrants possibly being put in that bucket and their future planning efforts.
Oh, for sure, sure.
Okay.
There's the solution. I mean, I agree. Remember, we did that survey and.
Yeah.
And it came last, crime, and the top two was crime and traffic.
Right.
And there's only so many dollars. And if we're
Right.
gonna, we need to go to the voters.
But then we did a survey for users of Parks and Rec, and it was a pretty robust response, and there was some definitely strong.
I want to make sure we get to Jay,
Okay,
please, Jay. and
sorry.
Eric.
It's okay. Actually, anything that deals with parks, that's not an immediate one, like the summer workers. I'd like to put it in discussion, but with an asterisk, because I think we need to have that discussion sooner than later from a planning perspective, especially if we're going to voters. And that ties right into several items on here, including Veterans Park over on Retzel, which I'm totally in favor of, but I know that's a hell of a lift.
We couldn't do it without a parks levy.
I understand that, Mayor, and that's why I'm saying we need to start having those discussions now and not kick that one down the road.
So I'm hearing support for putting new parks personnel into a planning conversation for now.
Yeah, there's two things. There's the 25-26 budget,
Yeah.
which, quite frankly, that will drive whether we can afford them or not, those discussions based on revenue, with the finance department. But there's the overall discussion about a parks district levy, whatever you want to call it. Parks and Rec area, and I think that ties into several items on here. And I think that discussion needs to start happening sooner and not next April when we come back to retreat saying,
Yeah,
revisiting this item.
great. Councilmember Warden, and then we'll figure out where it goes.
I think Parks Department is extremely important, for any city, county. I understand you have to build up to that. And just to be honest, at this point, we haven't built that throughout to that point. I'd like to start adding a staff member per year. And then we get to, okay, now we have 4 staff members dedicated for parks. And there is a reason that you do have a parks department, I believe. You take ownership in what you do every single day, and you have that skill set. When you're a public works employee in general, you're a general maintenance employee. Your skill set is utilities, it's a lot of different things. It's not just parks. And a parks employee, let's be real, is a landscaper. And it's highly skilled. So I'll be honest, I was caught off guard. I didn't realize that a lot of the landscape throughout the city, the appearance of the city falls under parks work. I didn't realize that. When I think of parks, I think of parks where you go, playgrounds and whatnot. I would like to see a staff member of 4 at a minimum, not instantly, but adding that throughout the years, then we go and we create park departments.
Interesting.
I think that is a responsible way to grow it. That's definitely an affordable way, I think, to grow that. And I use the analogy that all of our money is underground. It's things that you don't see. It's our utilities, it's our sewer, it's our stormwater, and the public doesn't see that. Thank God they don't see that. And we're doing a good job. But when you come home from work every day and you're going to your house or you're leaving or your guests are coming in town, you want your city looking nice. You know, and it is frustrating to go to other cities and see things. Yes, they're larger cities, but to see the appearance of theirs, and then you see certain ones of ours, you know, and it's like, we need to build that. And I would love to have 2. I keep stressing that, and I know two's a lot, but 1 per year I feel is doable.
Great,
And with some,
okay, let's do Councilmember Chang and then Mayor, yeah.
Yeah, I just had a thought. I keep hearing, you know, that of course this is gonna rank lower than crime or traffic if you put them in the same survey. So maybe the survey itself needs to be tweaked, because on the other hand, I would agree that people do believe in it, you know, and I know you do too. We want a beautiful town and we just, so I think, you know, comparing it to the others is not quite a good argument.
And to compare to the process though, these were all things that needed to be paid for from our general fund. So we were asking the public to prioritize, because this parks person, which I want to have, you know, if that's our, you know, it's coming out of the same pot of dollars that we have to pay for these other things with. And that's kind of why this, you know, police officers, unfortunately, our police officers and the parks personnel are paid for out of that same bucket of dollars. And I keep hearing this parks department, and while we're not gonna call it exactly that, this reorganization is largely creating what you guys are talking about, is redoing the organizational, you know, structure and tree to designate a lead. And if you guys, if it raises to the top of this pile or in the top, you know, top 5 probably, there'll be somebody else working underneath that lead. And then right now, and I'll just kind of segue into this next piece, we currently are authorized to have 4 summer hires. 2 of them go into the streets department and 2 of them go into the parks department. That is cheap labor, and in particular, in the summertime, when we can hire these college kids, we can do so much with trail maintenance and other, you know, it's how we can get, you know, to add a couple of bodies for the cost of a third of the body, you know, with
Yeah.
salaries and benefits. So what I'm hearing is we should be considering, I heard it from Eric for sure. Is there 4 of you at least believe that we should be trying to put that into our next budget process to add another park person?
Great. I mean, Councilmember Morrissey, was that about this specific?
Yeah, I think it's about both of these, because I
Yeah.
think maybe we can even look at, we already have a lead, adding another full-time and still leaving us at 4 summer, right? And utilizing some of the savings and adding 2 additional summer hires. And then we can add a few extra dollars to hire somebody year round. That would be
I
something.
would
I'd
almost
throw.
ask that, because now, because we merge these two
Yeah,
together,
I-
is that I think we could afford to add additional summer hires now. It's inexpensive. I mean, we're gonna pay them $20 an hour and no benefits, versus, you heard the number, it's $80 an hour with salary and benefits for one of our union folks. I mean, we could, you'll probably, I'd like to say, let's hire 10, but remember, I gotta put them in pickup. I gotta let them, we gotta be able to equip them to go out and not a group of young folks that are out playing hideout in
Can
one
you
of the parks.
clarify, you're saying add summer help this summer,
Mhm.
and then you recommend adding an FTE for the following budget?
That's, you also, that's what I'm hearing, and I also would advocate for that we add a new union full-time employee in this right here in the next budget process. And one or two scenarios this year, because right now, we're recruiting for our 4 summer hires. We can afford to make it 6 now, because that's inexpensive. They're only here for 3 months and we can get a lot out of them. If you're not supportive of that, I would hope at least we're gonna consider that in the next budget cycle. The county hires, Eric, 100 or more of these folks? I
Very
mean,
close to it.
it's insane. So we're competing with the county. I'd like to bump the salary up a couple bucks an hour, so we're more attractive.
Councilmember Diener.
I just was gonna say that what would, I think, be helpful, because it's hard to contextualize this, would be to get in a van and go for a drive with everybody, one of these work study evenings.
Oh, and look at all the parks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So I just want to make sure I heard the mayor recommend that this summer increase summer staff by 2. Are people comfortable with that as a this summer item? I see some thumbs, okay,
Yeah,
and
I
then,
think my caveat on that is that we're also moving forward with an extra FTE.
Oh,
Yes.
It's on the list.
Perfect, yep.
And you guys to prioritize that. I don't get a vote.
it's
You're
a
the policy
vote.
maker.
Well, when we look at, we're not even a tenth into this list. And there are dollars attached to all of these.
Yes.
So when we go back, I hope at the end, Sophie, that we are prioritizing these,
Yeah.
because quite frankly, if it's after, we only have a certain amount of dollars. And, regardless of our forecast,
You got it.
and everything's gonna fall under public safety for me as public safety is number 1, then it's gonna take line. And there's dollars attached to every one of these.
Don't we always hire young kids, every summer,
Right,
all the
right
time?
now, we're authorized for 4.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, I think we can afford to
Yeah.
add 2 more on. And I'd almost like to us to look at the salaries I'd like to be a couple dollars an hour higher than the county. $2 an hour isn't much money.
I don't think that's the question, Mayor. I think it's the FTE when we
Yeah.
get down into.
Yeah, then that's separate.
Two different issues.
It's 2 different issues.
Two different-
Just to manage expectations, I think you all are on track for a working lunch. So
Yeah.
given the pace that we're going at, as long as you're aware of
And
that.
I'll pay for pizza for dinner.
Okay, there we go. So I wanna keep us, yeah,
Is there support for us to look at the salary
Yes.
of the summer
Yes.
hires and ensure that we're.
If they were full-time and you want 2 hours or $2 an hour, you're looking at 4,000 a piece. And that's
Yeah.
full-time.
Yeah.
So if I cut that in half, you're looking at an additional $4,000. I think we had.
For the whole year.
Two fourth and count.
Less than that.
You cut it into a third.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
$1,000.
Even less than that.
Yeah, right, just go.
okay, we got this.
For you guys, that's fine. The benefit of having summer help for the summer helpers is when you go to college, you have a 40-hour-a-week job coming back every single year.
County guarantees that.
Yeah,
you can have a young
Weekends,
18
work weekdays, not really weekends unless you are
Need to jump.
in parks, right? But it's very intriguing. I mean, that's why you can get a lot of them.
To Scott's point, the county guarantees it. We don't guarantee anybody anything because not all summer hires are created equal. We give them a priority and actually they get every year they come back, they get an additional $1 an hour. Because now we don't have to train them.
We eliminated the word college.
Yeah,
We
it
call
is.
it summer help now.
Yeah.
Yes, too.
Because it's kind of free interview for a certain, say you're 20 years old, whatever. It's kind of a free interview mutually for, the city and for, so if we hire somebody, who wasn't going to college and they worked the summer and they were a very good employee. And then this next budget cycle, we hire a full-time employee, that person, we would know quite a bit about them if they applied for the job. It's kind of a free interview for us.
Yes, I want to keep us moving. The next one is the asset management specialist. Do you want me to pull that up on the screen?
Yeah, you probably don't have to. It's the job description. I've had HR do a little bit digging. It's in your packet. If you want to glance at that. And so, as you know, you guys authorized the sewer, water and storm. We've got an intern here that is just doing yeoman's work on this and knocking it out of the park. Not saying that person would get that job and we would be posting a job out there. But my concern is I can only employ an intern for 6 months. This young man is going to leave us at the end of July. And if I don't have, so this position is envisioned is the data person that's putting all of our as-built and information into the system. And then when we get all the stuff in the system, then there's gonna be outputs that need to be managed and work orders. And then the person, when the work orders are completed, so somebody needs to manage this data and this process. And we don't have anybody to do that right now, other than the intern.
So
I-
is the 75 just for the rest of the year? It's not,
That is an annualized, it is not a high, it's not an engineering position. This is a data entry person. It's a salary and benefits on an annualized basis for a. an F-
75 is
We
salary
said-
and benefits?
That's
Yeah.
what that HR told me. So
Right.
he'd be paying $25 an hour probably.
Yeah.
Is the position. It could grow into something more than that, but that's really what we need is somebody managing this project and putting the inputs in. We've got a program manager for it. Okay, that's Darren Rosada, I think is how to pronounce it. But he's also one of our inspectors. He also manages our GIS system, and he's ultimately provides the oversight to this potential position. But I can't have Darren doing data entry when I need him
Right.
down here inspecting the sewer lift station that's being built and other projects out in the city. He's got the skill set up here. I need somebody with this skill, down here.
Councilmember Morrissey and then Councilmember,
Do we have enough in there that there's a full-time workload?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
He is.
There's already enough in there. Okay.
Eric can probably speak to this,
My
how.
job.
And-
You're not putting that out to the public and getting.
And this isn't something where, once we get everything loaded, position ends, this would be ongoing into perpetuity.
Yes, because once we get the 3 utilities in, we want to put our streets in it, our physical buildings, our parks.
There's a ton of catch up to do.
Yeah, right now, we're in the implementation phase and data entry phase. Then it's utilizing the tool and managing our processes.
Councilmember Chenry.
And HR gave me that number. It might be a little bit low,
Seems low.
but even if it's $10,000 more a year,
Right.
it's still I think money well spent.
I would agree. I think the position is money well spent. I'm concerned a little bit just from historical experience myself. Data in or garbage in is garbage out. Who's going to be responsible? You say Dennis or Darren or whoever the lead is out in the field.
This
Who's gonna
person-
be responsible for monitoring that this data input is accurate in some manner. That's a concern I have because we need to have 95+% accuracy in this incoming data, or it will create nightmares down the road. So that would be my concern, point of concern.
To
GIS coordinator.
GIS coordinator.
Yep.
That's who they report to. And he's providing that oversight to our intern right now.
Okay.
He's just not doing the physical data entry and going to upstairs, our public workshop are tons of as-built and plans. And we're putting this stuff into the software.
I'm fully supportive of that.
Question, were you done?
Yeah,
Question for the mayor, the choice, this is not is this an option for now, or the choice that the council has?
I believe if we don't, because this is enterprise funded, it's not coming out of the general fund, it's sewer, water and storm. We can afford to do this now. And my concern is if we don't do it now and we wait till the next budget, and that's your choice. Is that July 1st, the intern goes away and now you've bought, how much was that software? I can't, $500,000. We made a $500,000 investment and we're not using the software. And that
That means
would be
we'd have to
foolish.
hire
That was my worry.
someone else.
So
Yeah.
let's hear it, knowing that it's an option to do it now, what does everyone think about now versus?
Now, get her done.
Okay. Sure, not, and I'm seeing a lot of agreement around the
It's
table.
part of the implementation of the whole asset management.
Okay, with throwing that in the now column. Okay, so moving us along to promote the opposition 2 to 3, go ahead, Mayor.
All right, this is complicated. We have been unsuccessful in hiring Zach Holt was our stormwater. I can't remember what the title of the position was. And the folks that tend to apply have environmental leanings, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's really, this position should be about managing doing the testing and managing the work product to comply with our stormwater permit, okay? And what we've tumbled to here is in the past, so that is a higher paid position, and that position was going out with a public works employee and doing the sampling, okay? I don't need a higher skilled level person to go out and do sampling. So what we're proposing to do is public works, stormwater staff, they're gonna go out and do the inspections and the testing, okay? Bring the data back, and we have 2 public works admin staff. There's 2 steps, 1 and 2. And Debbie found a different job description of somebody in Gig Harbor and creating a 3rd step. Because now, once we have that data, we're just taking and creating and managing the report and submitting this report to the state. A staff member that we have, which is currently the 2, stepped up. We didn't have anybody to do it. She figured it out, reached out to neighboring jurisdictions and submitted our stormwater report. We would like to take that and not hire that FTE as the elevated FTE, restructure her job because her job description she's really working out of class. We'd want to give it, yeah. So the one with the Gig Harbor logo is the job description we're talking about. Have the crew do the field work and have a clerical, high-end clerical staff do the reporting aspect of it. And then there's a 3rd piece that if you guys are supportive of this, we can't hire enough engineers and take the FTE that was the stormwater position and hire a college kid this summer when everybody's graduating as an entry-level engineer and repurpose that FTE.
So just the same question to you, Mayor, before we open it up. Is this something that is even possible now, or is the
Totally possible, because this staff, all of these staff members exist. It's just reworking job descriptions, and it's all paid for out of the stormwater utilities.
So Councilmember Morrissey, please.
I'm hearing there's no change in dollars. Just
Very if there is, it's.
Yeah, maybe a little salary difference, but
And actually,
actual FTE is still the same
Okay,
number of
actually,
heads.
if you didn't authorize the engineering position on top of it, we'd save money. Because I didn't fill this job over here. I'm gonna fill it with an existing clerical person, bump her salary up a bit. I already have the public works crew, and they were partnering with this high level person. I don't need this person to go out and do sampling.
Yeah, no.
Councilmember Kennedy.
just out of curiosity, question, is this a union position?
No,
Oh,
Okay.
it's an office position.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or reactions?
You got
Yeah,
consternation on your face, huh?
So basically, there's somebody in-house that you want to promote to cut some fat out of it.
Yeah.
And not much dollar figures, then we can move forward.
Yeah, and
Right,
if-
I mean, that's just of it. It's-
that's the gist of it, is reclassifying somebody that actually demonstrated that they can do the work
Right,
and compensating them for that. And then, and if you're willing to bite, we have an assistant city engineer position that we continue to struggle to fill. That's a high level, position. I still want to try to recruit that. We need that position. But we need to train our own, and I would advocate to take that FTE that was our stormwater position and create. And now I'm spending a little bit more money, and that position could wait till the 2025-2026 budget.
but are we still looking to fill Zach's open position?
No, this would not fill Zach's position, with the public works staff and field staff would do the sampling. And then this person would do our report, stormwater report for us, and public outreach and other elements that are associated
Would
with
they do
that.
any field work or stay in the office? Would that employee do any field work at all?
No,
That's making money.
Yes.
Let's do Councilmember Morrissey, Councilmember.
Follow-up question. So-
Yes.
There was somebody who did that field work that was high level that we haven't replaced.
correct.
So, okay.
It's
So,
been-
okay, I follow.
it's been about 9
Thank you,
months.
Thank you.
And I've had multiple interviews and we haven't found the right person to fill that
So
job.
again, all these, if we did both of these, there's still no change in number of heads,
No.
just a little bit of salary corrections.
Yes.
If we're, okay.
Got it.
Um,
Councilmember Rosenbaum.
Actually, what I heard, and this is probably asking the same question that John asked. You're removing you're adding an FTE, you're removing an FTE. And in essence, because you're bumping one salary, but removing the FTE should actually be a negative in the budget.
If you didn't allow me to recruit an entry level engineer, there would be savings. We need more.
But we already account for that in the person who was a high level person out doing testing, right? That's
No.
the job we replaced.
That's why I would like to repurpose that position, which
To
would be
Whatever
similar.
engineer.
Yeah, it'd be a similar salary a level one engineer. A level one engineer went to school, doesn't have their PE yet. Okay, a level two engineer at the city of Port Orchard, you find that, you've got some experience, you pass the test and you have a license. And then the next step is if we have one assistant city engineer, I've been over a year without one. And then I've got the city engineer, which is Chris.
Yeah, so Zach's job was to report spills and spill response.
That's it.
Right. With this employee though, not going in the field, who's going to fulfill those job requirements?
We have our public works staff.
Yeah.
So we have a stormwater lead that's out in the field that usually went out in the field with Zach, okay?
Zach also did thought.
No, he didn't, Darren did. Not Darren,
Yeah, I know.
there's another guy.
Yeah.
We had a separate guy.
Yeah, we're replacing him.
I think we're still trying to recruit that position.
Somebody-
There's an FTE for FOG.
That's that,
Yeah.
on the field, you have to do FOG, you have to do spill
Yeah.
reporting and response, you have, there's so many permit requirements
Sure.
that you have to fulfill that.
I'm told by the public works director that we will be compliant with our permit. Between him, the utilities manager, or somebody in the crew is gonna be responsible for those field duties. But there's a lot to what Zach did, it was truly administrative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will feel we can fulfill those responsibilities with a high level clerical position.
So I want to call the question in a moment about where this belongs. I did see your hand though.
No, so from my bottom line, without getting in the weeds, is we're not gonna save any FTE, we're just bumping somebody.
Yeah.
We're
Changing.
gonna do
We're
some
not-
reclassifications
Yes, but
and
we're not saving an FTE.
Yeah.
I would advocate not to. We
Yeah.
could,
But we're not saving in your proposal.
correct.
We're not saving an FTE, we're bumping up like $10,000 or something,
I'll come back with an exact
Yeah.
dollar amount when we.
Sorry.
So I know that we're
I'm
not
just kind of
using.
keeping a running
yes.
total here when
Yeah.
everybody's saying we're adding bodies, we're just gonna add bodies out the kazoo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know we're not using parliamentary rules here, but I would like someone to make an unofficial motion. Where does this belong? Now, next budget, indefinite?
What budget? belongs now. It seems like we need it.
We have somebody working out of class doing the work.
Now, we're okay with now, for now?
So I'd like to tweak, you could,
Yeah, we can edit
you
it.
can take all those words out of it and then add,
All these words here?
yeah.
Okay.
And drop that in there, and then is there support then to take the stormwater FTE and hire and change that to as an entry level engineering position?
As a separate bullet here,
It could be in the same one,
okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am too.
but I gotta come back with the dollars and cents.
You do.
The exact before we would implement.
Can you give me the exact verbiage here, change?
Change. Stormwater FTE. Into a entry level engineer.
When you promote,
If you see, yeah, no problem.
when you promote.
The reason I did that was.
It'll be a completely new salary range. And so if she promotes, so there's 7 steps in our system, okay, and if you never go backwards.
No.
So she would get, yes,
Yeah.
at least 5%, so she would get plugged in somewhere in this range at a minimum of,
I just like seeing
Yeah.
that.
she's gonna get something.
So question for you all, knowing that we won't finish in 40 minutes, but we have been going as a group for 2 hours. Do you want to take a 5-minute break
Sure.
now? And then keep us, because this is more of a marathon than a sprint. What, are you okay with taking a
Yeah.
5-minute break? The C folks are just, all right, so let's come back at 11:07. And I don't think you need to pause the recording, but just noting that we are. All right,
We should pause the recording.
okay, great. Okay.